Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you, Ranking Member Carson, for allowing me to participate in this morning's hearing. As the Ranking Member of the House Veterans Affairs Subcommittee on Health, I have been working for several years now to address problems in the VA's construction and leasing program. As we all know, changes in CBO scoring have made it incredibly difficult for the VA committee to authorize new facilities. This is not only frustrating to me as a member of Congress, but it is having a very negative impact on veterans who are underserved. This is not just about better access, but it is truly a clarion call for equitable access for all of our veterans. I brought a list today that I'd love to share with the committee of 24 leases still caught in limbo for fiscal year 2016 and fiscal year 2017. These are 24 communities in 15 different states all across the country where veterans are underserved and where veterans sorely need better access to health care and are not receiving it. I'm frustrated that Congress has not yet resolved this issue that has dragged on for several years now, an issue I think is a moral imperative and unquestionably an equity issue. I've introduced legislation to permanently fix this problem and to harmonize the VA leasing process with the GSA leasing process. This small procedure will make a big difference in the lives of veterans who are waiting for and rightfully deserve better access to care. That brings me to my first question. Last year, the VA committee held a hearing on my bill, the Build a Better Act. At the time, VA was not prepared to answer specific questions regarding the administration's position on the bill. My bill has been endorsed by several VSOs, and the Commission on Care has identified this as an area that needs to be addressed by the VA. So, Mr. Sullivan, has the VA now had time to review my bill, and does the VA support this approach? And if you don't, what is the VA's proposed long-term solution to addressing this ongoing problem that we have with authorizing new facilities?
Correct. VA does support your bill, and we support your efforts to look at the streamlining of the authorization process that's outlined in your bill.
Terrific. That's very good news. Thank you for that. Ms. Shea, I appreciate the work that GAO has done to ensure that the American taxpayers are getting a good value for their dollar. I share the views of my colleagues that cost effectiveness is an important tool for measuring value. However, I also believe that when it comes to veterans' health care, timely access to high-quality care should be our absolute highest priority. So, Ms. Shea, did the GAO analyze the length of time that it would take to build new VA health care facilities from the ground up versus the amount of time it would take to build out a leased facility?
We didn't look at the time to build or lease in this report, but we did look at the time to deliver a facility through leasing in a 2014 report. And we found that there were still delays in that process, but most of those delays were in the upfront side before they were delivered. And the delays were on average 3.3 years. And we don't have comparisons to construction, but based on some of the other construction work that we've done, there are generally longer delays for construction.
Thank you. I certainly think timeliness is critically important in terms of with the sole goal of quality health care and access to that health care for our veterans. So I understand some of the issues that have been discussed here, but I also believe that getting a leased facility to our veterans as quickly as we possibly can, assuming that it's cost effective, is critically important. And finally, Mr. Sullivan, from the perspective of the VA, can you just describe again, I know you've already said some of this already, but what advantages does leasing have over construction? You've talked about flexibility and timeliness, and do you believe still that the option allows the delivery of health care to happen more swiftly?
we believe that leasing provides a more expeditious way to provide healthcare to services to veterans. We believe leasing is the right thing to do in terms of allowing us to change the types of services we need if we, at the end of the lease, or if we have a shorter-term lease. We believe technology is the big driver in healthcare, and for us to be able to have a 20-year-old facility that, say, took 2 years to plan, so 22 years out, that technology is going to change, especially in the area of radiology, imaging, oncology. In those areas, it's night and day what it was 20 years ago, and we need to be able to have those facilities that have that up-to-date technology. There are challenges with the leasing process. I don't doubt that at all, but we believe that flexibility, and also the flexibility if we have a new cadre of veterans that come in that demand new services that we don't know about today, leasing will allow us to be able to shift to provide those services where they are. And especially as we deal with some of the younger veterans coming from the Persian Gulf Wars, and more recently, that their need for services are different, and they want them in a different time and in a different place than people who are from the World War II Vietnam era. So we need to balance that as we go forward, and we think leasing provides us flexibility. There's still a need for owned assets. I'm not saying there isn't, but in the outpatient arena, where access is key, we believe that is important.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to be here and allowing me to go over my time. I yield back.